Hey lovelies, I've got something a little bit different for you today. I'm going to do a few poses at the wall. So I've got my mat end on to the wall, but you don't even necessarily need a mat today if that is just too hard to figure out how you're going to do that in your space. So as always, just if it's not feeling right, don't feel like you have to do it, and definitely just be really kind and be as present in your body as you can so that you are in less danger of over pushing, overworking. And yeah, adapt as you need to. So, yeah, I have a block handy. If you don't have one, that's fine, I'm sure you'll make do, but something to put under you at some point is going to be helpful. Even if it's like, I don't know, something similar to a block, another block would be useful. Okay, so to start with, I'm going to take my back heel to the wall. I'm going to let you choose which leg you do first. I'm going to go with my right heel to the wall to begin with, but that's just so it's easy to show you. So it sort of feels a bit unnatural. I would probably go right foot forward. Doesn't matter. So one heel to the wall, and I'm going to turn my back toes out 45 degrees, ready for some standing poses. And I'm going to try and keep that heel really pressing into the corner of where the skirting board meets the wall there, and keep the sense of grounding through the back foot. So to begin with, I want my hips to face the short edge of the mat. So if you haven't even got your mat out today, just you can kind of visualise it being there. Hips facing that short edge. Hands to hips to begin with. Take a big step forward with my other foot. Still checking, back heel is really pressing down. I don't want to lose that pressure on the back heel there. And I'm going to sink forwards into a warrior one shape with the legs. All the time pressing back heel down. I tend to think it feels really different once we've got that contact at the back of the body there. And just seeing where the pose is for you today. Hips still facing forwards. And of course, if you want, you can add in the arms to your warrior one. I'm going to spend a good few breaths here, so if you need to come out of it or change it, feel free. You might feel that you want to raise your eye line and look up. You might not. Again, just seeing what works for you. All the time, pressing that back heel down. So we've gone straight into quite a long, strong, slow pose. So just notice, where's your breath? Where's your awareness? Where have your thoughts gone? If it's painful, obviously stop, adjust, take a slightly different version should you need to. Couple more breaths. See what you need to get from this pose. Notice where the resistance is, both in the body, in the breath, and in your mind. And gently coming up, releasing and resetting. So just having a bit of a shake if that feels good. Maybe some stillness feels better. Comparing both halves of the body perhaps. Great. And of course we'll set up for that on the other side. So we're going to do a few poses. We'll do one side then the other. So start close to the wall, plant the back heel, turn the toes out. Take plenty of time. Hands to hips, and again facing the short edge of the mat, stepping the other foot forward. Taking some time. And once you're happy with the legs, see whether it feels like a good idea to add arms. Maybe it's a good idea to raise the gaze. Maybe it's not. notice where the resistance is in the body, in the breath, in the mind, and really pressing back heel down. We'll just have a breath or two more. And then gently release. And again, seeing how you feel, whether you need to have a moment to move or a moment to be still. Finding some balance in the breath and in the body. Great. So we're going to start to work with the hips facing the long edge of the mat now. Block handy for this next one might be a good idea. So you can either have the whole of the side of the foot up against the wall, or you can turn the toes in just slightly so the heel is still touching. So up to you whether you want the whole side edge of the foot or the toes just turning in slightly. And then the other foot is going to turn away, so it's running down the middle of your mat and taking the block outside of the foot. Keeping the hips facing long edge. We're going to reach forwards, forwards, forwards and down into triangle, and then taking the top hand up. So if you don't have a block in this one, you can of course lean on your shin. Just take care to protect the knee. We're going to be here for probably as long as we were in the first pose, so up to you whether you want to have little breaks or adjust as needs be. Pressing that heel into the wall. And in your front leg, so this leg, press the ball of the foot down and then see if you can externally rotate the upper thigh. So instead of the knee coming around this way, I want it to go this way, but pressing the ball of the foot down. It's quite a lot to think about in this pose. It's one that we tend to do a lot, but I always find something new to work on in triangle. Again, where's the resistance? What are you telling yourself? What's tensed up? Where do you still feel long and spacious? Can you bring a little bit more ease into this pose, all the while keeping that back heel pressing down? Couple more breaths if you want them. And then we're going to exit with care, so coming out carefully, bending the front knee. Great. Taking time to come all the way back up. Now obviously if I just spin around, you'll just see the back of my head, so I'm actually going to change ends, but obviously don't do that so that your foot can be at the wall. So imagine my wall is here, back foot either the long edge touching the wall or toes coming in slightly, stepping down the middle of the mat. Perhaps just having an idea already of whether you've stepped a similar distance or not on this side. Dropping the tailbone, and then as you are ready, leaning forwards and down onto your block, taking top hand up if that works for you. And already, what's different in the body on this side? Where's your mind? Bring it back to the body, back to the breath. Just a couple more breaths on this side. And then again, with as much care, just softening the front knee, so bending that front knee, coming all the way back up. And once again, either having a little bit of movement or coming to stillness. Check the clock. Okay, good. Seeing if you can bring everything back to stillness, back to equilibrium in the body. Nice steady breathing. Great. And then we're going to turn to face the wall. Feet about hip distance apart, knees a little bit soft. We're going to lean into the wall and then walk the hands down so the hips move back. Hands ending up about hip height. So we're going to try and make a bit of a downward facing dog shape here. So if you think about all your alignment cues for downward facing dog, hands shoulder distance apart, pressing the inner edge of the hand down, fingers spread. And if the legs will straighten, that's great. If that's not for you today, it can be nicer for the back in this version to keep them a little bit soft. And you can still get the shoulder stretch, but without any strain in the back. And thinking about abdominal muscles working as well, so lifting the belly in towards the backbone. So hands are pressing forward, hips are kind of pointing backwards, feet feeling like they're under the hips. So if you've ended up the wrong distance from the wall, obviously you can just come up and reset. So if you feel like your feet are too far away or too close, come on out, move them and go in again. Keeping the arms working to keep pushing into the wall. Couple more breaths here. And gently softening the knees, bringing yourself back. And once again, either a moment just to move or just to be still, whatever feels better for you. Perhaps shut down the eyes, tune into your breathing once again. Great. And then release. Okay, so if you have a block, grab it again, it's going to be useful here. And if you don't, something blocky, even if it's like a stack of books or something, it's going to be super helpful here. Hopefully you have something, whether it's, you could even use your bolster or something sturdy that you can lean on. So I'm going to put my block towards the front of my mat. It might not be in quite the right place, but I can adjust that later. We want to be about leg length from the wall, roughly. All will become clear. So, this is going to be our important leg, the front leg here, and it's going to face directly down the mat, but we want hips facing towards the side. So if you want, you can come into like a little mini warrior 2. That's probably a good place to start, actually, like a mini warrior 2 there. So this leg facing this way, hips facing this way. I'm going to keep this leg bent to begin with. And what I'm going to do is grab the block and come into a bit of, not far enough away, a half moon shape using the wall for support. So I want the block kind of under my shoulder. I want this foot still to be facing down the middle of the mat, hips facing sideways. My back toes are turning so that my back foot is kind of parallel to the floor. And I can keep my hand on my hip, or I can extend it up. Lots going on in Half Moon. If you're feeling brave, you can look upwards. Me and balancing on camera, never a good mix, so I'm not going to do that today. But once you've got your bearings, you can press both feet away, so both heels are pressing away, but at the same time pulling the legs into the body. And similar sort of action in the upper body, stretching out, opening across the chest, but at the same time drawing the shoulder blades into the body. It's a lovely balancing pose. Just stay and breathe. Obviously, if you're any discomfort or any uncertainty, feel free to come on out. Again, where's the effort? Where's the resistance? Where do you need to look on the body with kindness, compassion? We'll have a couple more breaths if this is working for you. And then bending the standing leg and gently coming on out with control. Coming to upright with care. And again, just a moment. Oh, my body feels very uneven having done that on one side. It might be your experience too, or you might be finding something different. So, haven't thought this through. To the other side in a way, hopefully, where I can still talk to you. Yeah, I'm going to do it here. So, standing leg facing away from the wall, down the middle of the mat, and a bit of softness in the knee to begin with. About foot distance, about leg distance rather, from the wall. You can wiggle around should you need to. So back foot about hip height, toes pointing that way. This might even give you another view on the pose. Hand under the shoulder, so if it's in line with the foot, often it's too narrow a base. So under the shoulder rather than with the knee pointing to it. And as you're ready, top hand to top hip or top hand to the ceiling. And see how much length you can find down the whole of your spine, so including your neck. So think about your spine from tailbone to neck. Can you find a little more space and a little more stability through the whole of your spine? Couple more breaths if you want them. Exiting with control by softening the front knee and releasing everything and coming up. And again, take a moment to reset, refocus. Great. I just need to check the clock again. Okay, perfect. Right, so again, block is going to be handy for this next one. Or again, stack of something, books or something would be really useful. Block is going to go next to the wall. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so I'm going to stand with my right hip next to the wall. I'm going to step my right foot onto that block. So if already that's an awkward angle, you can reset the base there. So I'm going to try and keep my hips square to the wall, just to protect this knee as much as anything. And then I'm just going to turn towards the wall and take a little bit of a twist here. This left hip will want to kind of roll forwards. So thinking about working all of the muscles around the hip to send the tailbone away from the head and keep this hip here. It might mean that you don't have a very big twist, and that's absolutely fine. This back arm can go up, it can go 45 degrees, it can go back, it can go cactus arms. I'm hoping you can see that. Find somewhere that feels good for you, especially for the front of your shoulder. And just find somewhere to stay and breathe. So check on this standing leg. We don't want the hip to roll forwards, mainly to protect our knee. You can have a tiny bit of softness in that standing knee if that's helpful to feel like it's safe and protected. And you can turn your head wherever you want it to be as well. So for most of us, we have a lot of tension through the shoulder, and if it's getting a bit intense, that's fine, we're nearly done. But if it's too intense and you need to stop, obviously just stop, do what works for you. And gently untwisting, releasing with control. Great, and then when you feel ready, I'm going to set up for the other way. So again, we don't want the right hip to cave in towards the wall. So just facing parallel to the wall to begin with, get yourself set up, left hip touching the wall without right hip caving in. And then finding the twist that works today. And once you're in your position, you can think about just lengthening through the whole of the spine again. So finding a nice upright, an uplift through the whole of the back. Just a couple more breaths here. And then gently releasing. Taking both feet to the floor. And again, either having a bit of movement or just a moment to be still. I've got one more standing pose to do. It's a nice one. Okay, so basically we're going to take our feet wide, so as wide as you are comfortable with, and we're going to take a fold so that we can lean against the wall. So probably doesn't make a lot of sense until you've seen it. So I guess I'll just get myself into it and try and give you any pointers from there. So transitioning, soft knee, so slight bend in the knees to transition. Gone fairly wide, and I'm going to fold in, and then I'm going to bring myself so that my feet are a bit closer and the back of my neck and my shoulders can touch the wall. And if I get it right,
I can just allow my body weight to rest on the wall, and I can feel really nice and supported. And then I can straighten my legs if I want to. If I'm feeling like I just want to be held in a bit more of a soft way, I can let the knees stay soft. So there's no pressure on my neck or the back of my head. It's mainly my shoulders which are taking the body weight here. So if you're feeling like you can't get your shoulders in contact with the wall, then I would definitely soften the knees, bring yourself over a little bit more. We don't really want a load of body weight going through the neck and the head. So just a few more breaths if you want them. Like with any pose at any time, if you're not really feeling it, then do just come out. It's all good. And to exit, again, we'll have soft knees to transition. And walking back, coming up, away from the wall, in a way that works for you. Good stuff. And we're going to finish with legs up the wall, which I really like to do over a bolster. So if you don't have a bolster or you don't want to do that, that's great. You can just sit yourself down close to the wall, with your legs up, and take legs up the wall like that. If you want to fiddle around the bolster, feel free. Again, you can start the same way, or you can have the bolster in place beforehand, it's all good. We don't want the bolster next to the wall, we want it slightly back so that it's supporting the back of the pelvis, and the hips kind of almost hook over the bolster. So again, if you get in position and it's not right for you, don't stay there. There's no obligation. Every body shape is different, so you will need something different to other people doing this, and you'll be different on different days. You can soften your knees if your hamstrings are tight. There's lots of modifications. So feel free to just give yourself a chance to find the best way to settle your own body today. We've done lots of standing poses today, so lots of effort through the legs, and although we've had the support of the wall, actually that can make it more intense rather than less intense, and we've done a very slow practice. So if it was a bit of a shock to the system, then that's fine, maybe just acknowledge that now, and release from any effort, release from any intensity, any energy flowing through the body. Allow it to dissipate now. And check for softness through the upper body, the back of the body, the jaw, the skin around the eyes, the forehead, the hands. Allowing yourself to be held and to feel supported. I'm not just going to come out so I can speak to you, but feel free to stay. So as always, you can stay in legs up the wall for absolutely as long as you like. If this is your pose today and it's feeling like coming home, then do stay. If you wanted to transition, then you could still take a Shavasana. So it could be your Shavasana, or you could have Shavasana as well. So it just, whenever you want to come out of this pose,
hugging the knees to the chest and carefully rolling onto one side is quite a nice way to do it. But taking plenty of time, taking plenty of care with yourself, whenever you choose to exit. And if you are taking a Shavasana, please feel free to make it as long and as fulfilling and honouring of the body as you can. Thank you so much for joining me. See you next time.